Biotics Research has been a leader in the nutrition industry for 50 years. Known for top quality supplements and enhanced product delivery systems, they drive advancement by focusing on research initiatives, unique product formulations, and unprecedented quality control. Family owned with a rich history, they are very proud of their valued partnerships with healthcare professionals. Welcome to Adjusted Reality, a podcast series trusted by the adjusted and brought to you by the Foundation for Chiropractic Progress, where we learn from athletes, celebrities, influencers, and healthcare professionals about how to optimize health in a fun, relatable way. Join me, Dr. Sherry McAllister, as we welcome CEO Bree McKeen. Bree McKeen is the founder and CEO of Evelyn Bobbie, a rapidly growing bra brand redefining comfort, support, and confidence for women. After leaving a career in Silicon Valley venture capital, Bree set out to solve the problem of chronic pain and poor posture caused by traditional bras. With no background in fashion, she spent years developing a patented wire-free technology that delivers lift without discomfort. And today, her innovation is disrupting a century-old industry and empowering women to stand taller, feel better, and move through their lives with ease, strength, and confidence. We are delighted to bring Bree on today. Welcome to Adjusted Reality.
Dr. Sherry, I am so happy to be here. This is my favorite thing to talk about.
Well, I know there's a lot of men who just heard the intro and they're thinking,
Yes.
Okay, am I going to listen to this podcast? And the answer is 100% yes, you are. Do not turn off, men, because we have got you covered all the way through here, because this is so much more than just a defining fashion piece. This is about structure and function and shaping performance. So, gentlemen, do not turn off. I promise you there's a lot in here for you. But before we get started, Bree, let's take this back for a moment. I want to first start off with, I learned a little bit about why you named your company Evelyn and Bobbie. For our listeners, can we start there? What was the reason to actually call your company what it is? And then what was the turning point for you coming from a successful venture capital firm to start out making this company happen?
Well, I named the company Evelyn and Bobbie after my two matriarchs because I saw the intimates industry as something that was not grounded in the day-to-day experiences of real women. I wanted my brand to be reflective of real women, not the fantasy, not the angel wings, not all of that, what I would call nonsense, but really gear for life. So Evelyn represents beauty. She was my maternal grandmother. She was a starlet in the 30s. And my Aunt Bobbie was a fierce entrepreneur. She taught me how to sew. Ironically, there's hardly a stitch in this garment because it is so tech forward. We have partnered with all the same performance athletic apparel manufacturers, Nike, Adidas, Under Armour. We share our entire supply chain with those big performance-based brands. But my Aunt Bobbie taught me how to sew and gave me the confidence that I could figure out through an entrepreneurial lens what was going on with this really essential garment that most women can't leave the house without and wouldn't want to. And Evelyn represents beauty, Bobbie represents purpose. I want to give every woman a garment that, of course, makes her feel beautiful and looks great under her clothes, but is purposeful, does the job, works with her anatomy and physiology, not against it. Because this is a garment that we are wearing 12, 14 hours a day, sometimes more. And, you asked what my aha moment was. Well, believe it or not, it happened in a chiropractor's office.
I love those moments.
Yeah. So, I was working in venture capital for a boutique firm focused on consumer healthcare companies. I studied medical anthropology at Stanford, fellow at the business school. And my job was to do diligence on consumer healthcare companies. I was one of the only women, and it's a very male dominated industry, and I had to show up with authority and poise every day, and I was working really long hours, and I experienced daily discomfort in my neck and shoulders. I would often get tension headaches. I had deep divots in my trapezius muscle that were there even when I woke up. So I am a very average build in the United States. Men, this won't mean much to you. I'm a 34G. That's actually right in the middle of the population distribution curve. What it means in more engineering terms is that me and most American women are carrying about 10 pounds or more of breast tissue. It's just an anatomical reality. And I was standing in Dr. McAllister's office in the heart of Silicon Valley, San Francisco, after having spent about 6 months doing core workouts, thinking maybe all this pain and discomfort in my shoulders and neck and tension headaches and teeth grinding and all the things. Just, I felt like I had rocks in my shoulders by 3 p.m. every day. I thought it was because I had bad posture and needed to build up my core strength, but I had been doing that for 6 months. And I'm standing in Dr. McAllister's office. And he said, Bree, amazing job. The curves in your spine have really rebalanced. This is beautiful posture. All this work you've done on your core strength, plus the work I had done with him, had resulted in officially great posture. And I just kind of blurted it out. I said, yeah, but when I stand like this, I have 2 pressure points right in the center of my rib cage where that wire, and 90% of bras still today are made with a 3-cent piece of steel. That wire is pushing into my rib cage. And he said, I'm so glad you told me that. That's a neuromuscular feedback loop. It's like a pebble in your shoe. If your bra hurts and causes pain when you stand up straight, your lizard brain is going to tell you to curl around that pain. So it doesn't matter how amazing your core strength is. If your bra hurts, you're going to slouch. So go down, famous last words, Dr. Sherry. And as a woman, you know this, go down to the mall and get a bra that feels great when you stand up straight.
No.
That bra didn't exist. I knew that bra didn't exist because I'd been looking for it for decades, and it shifted. I think I kind of put on my medical anthropology hat in this lightning strike moment where I said, hold on. I'm doing all this work to have correct posture. And then I'm putting on a garment that really socially is a non-negotiable for me and comfort-wise. I need support, like most women. And this thing that I have to wear is actively undermining all of that postural work. Like what's going on societally, that this is the widely accepted status quo. And in that moment, I was like, this has to change, not just for me, but for millions of other women.
This is actually a very important piece because you understood alignment. Hence, you were in Dr. McAllister's office and really did appreciate what the neuromusculoskeletal system is doing, which is it has to have function, but it also gets a feedback loop. Yeah. And what I want to bring in a very realistic way is that we all have a purpose of showing up in the world, and how we show up in the world really depends on what we're wearing. And I bring this back to many of our listeners because we often show up at New York Fashion Week where fashion is function, but function is alignment, and alignment is confidence. If you're not in a confidence way, posture is important, but you showed us something very, very important: external pressure, which made for the internal adaptation, which is our adjusted reality moment today. You said so beautifully, the lizard brain tells you to wrap around, change what you have. If there's a pebble in your shoe, accommodate it. That's what our body will do, because really it's about how the body will work under the stress that it's given. And if your frame for 8 to 12 hours a day, like you said, is really being tortured, much like when men wear tight collars on their white shirts, or ties that are too tight, or belts that are compressing their abdomen. These poor designs are going to impact their day. So, Bree, I can't thank you enough for bringing it to everyone's real reality. Now, your brand is rooted in solving the personal pain point. That was one of the things that I think were really, really important to you. Share more about what your influence and design had to create the mission of building something that women can actually wear. And then tell me about, because we had this just before we jumped on, which I thought was brilliant, is you had to go and raise money for this
Mm-hmm.
opportunity. And you spoke to men about
Yes.
why this is important. Share more about that as well.
Well, maybe I'll start there and then walk backwards into what I understood about the essential job of this garment. Um, People think about bras. If you think about I'm going to pick on Victoria's Secret because they're the biggest and everybody knows them. This, you think about these multi-million dollar fashion shows where you can't even buy any of the things that are in there. These are marketing companies, right? They're not focused on the performance of the garment. And from where I stood, this was gear, that essential gear for my day. This was a performance garment. And so from the outset, I was focused on load engineering. I wanted to create, if you think about the underwire as a housing that kind of rests on the shoulders, you're supporting the weight of your bust. And look, we got a lot of plus size women in this country, right? We're talking, this could be 20 pounds of load that we're engineering for. And that's sitting right here across the trapezius muscle that's inserting in the back of your skull and a shoulder clavicle joint. And it's literally causing the shortening of that muscle and the curling forward of the spine and through that fatigue. And so, I pitched to a lot of men that really didn't understand. They knew that their wives had complained about their bras for decades. They didn't know why, right? And nobody was approaching this problem from a load engineering challenge. But the investor who ended up being my remarkable partner in this journey, I was very lucky when I pitched him. He had just attended a black tie event that was very long. It was a very long event. I can't recall. It was like a wedding but he had been wearing suspenders for like 10 hours. And as I was explaining, what happens with carrying this heavy load on your shoulders, he said, wait, I just went to this event. I was wearing suspenders. He said, and I really felt this fatigue by the end of the night. Is that what you're talking about? I said, yes. Now imagine that there's a bag of sugar tied to the front of your suspenders, 10 pounds of weight pulling down. And it really turned a light on for him. He was like, that's what it's like for you every day. And I said, yes, every day. I see older women, the deepest divots in the trapezius muscle that I've seen, I could put 2 fingers in.
Wow.
I was on a 70-year-old woman who had a very heavy bust. So this is a real challenge of anatomy and engineering. And so with his support, I was able to, fund the company. But the goal for me was to create an alternative to this wire. Now, Dr. Sherry, this will blow your mind. The underwire, which is the foundational support of 90% of bras still in the marketplace, was patented in 1931. It would be 88 years before the first structural alternative to the underwire hit the market. And you want to know what it was?
Wow.
My bra.
No kidding.
88 years, Dr. Sherry, between the underwire and the first structural alternative. And it was because we had kind of been implying through all of this marketing that this is just kind of what you have to live with. It comes with the territory. And I said, no, you don't. Look at all of the advances that we've had in bonding, 4-way stretch performance fabrics. All of my products, I wear them. My daughter who's 15 wears them. My mother wears them. I have followed European toxicity standards since the beginning because I don't think that consumer protections in the United States are quite where they need to be. CNN did an amazing article where they looked at BPAs in garments. People don't realize it. They've given up plastic water bottles, but they don't realize that according to this CNN article, you could be absorbing up to 22 times the safe amount of BPA by wearing a bra for one day, through these inexpensive polyester fabric. So it was like, okay, let's start with do no harm ethos. We're not going to affect your posture negatively. In fact, we're going to enhance it. And we did a survey, actually 3 out of 4 of women of our customers surveyed felt improved posture just by wearing our bras, because I took the anatomy and physiology into account. So our bras are long line. They essentially create a shelf. So I replaced the metal underwire with this 3-dimensional sling that allows the load to kind of sit on a shelf that is anchored on your core, because your neck and shoulder muscles incredibly agile, fatigue incredibly quickly. You ask any fireman, any police officer, any long distance backpacker, the number one thing you can do to undermine your ability to wear that load for a long time is to put the weight on your shoulders. You've got to put that load on your core. So, a properly fitted backpack is going to be anchored around your hips so that the weight is going on your core muscles, not on your delicate neck and shoulder muscles that are just fatigue much more quickly. It's just a reality. And so I took all of that and put that into this garment. And, the results are incredible. I mean, I used to, have daily discomfort, and now I have none. And millions of other women do too.
I want to take you back because you said 3-cent piece of steel, and that hit
Yes.
me. Number one, because we look at how long it's been since this has been redesigned and reimagined, and how much we know about the anatomy, especially when it comes to human performance. And we see athletes out there in these great gears, especially the swimsuits, and the ability for us to be able to maintain and function at our best with full mobility. And when you said the 3-cent steel structure, all I was thinking of is you can't hold anything with 3 cents today. So why would a 3-cent steel piece be any different? But tell our listeners right now, and many of them that are listening, the men included, and yes, we love you too, because we're talking about bras, but we're also talking about structure and function, is you'll have a female in your life who's going to be suffering. So you're going to be the hero here today if you're a man listening.
Yes, you will.
But why is the underwire so bad? And what does it do anatomically to the structure and function for a woman?
Let me answer this with a question. So I have a surgical partner, Dr. Nina Naidu, out of New York, who is my surgical advisor or medical advisor. Dr. Nina Naidu gives one of my bras to every single one of her patients for the second stage of healing and asks them to wear it for a full year. When I first founded this company, I went and talked to breast surgeons at Sloan Kettering, because I was like, I'm not going to do any harm. I want to understand. And I asked that question, because if you look at the anatomy, your lymphatic flow goes right across the area that is directly transected by the underwire. This is a very thin piece of metal pressing right against that delicate lymphatic drainage. And I asked the question, I said, surely we have looked at this. No, we have not looked at that in a serious scientific way. But I can tell you that surgeons, the first thing they do when somebody is healing, dealing with swelling, has lymphedema, the first thing they tell you is get rid of the underwire forever. And so I will go out on a limb. Now, I am not a doctor. I make bras. But if my surgical medical advisor is saying, if you want to heal, get rid of the underwire, I say, let's all get rid of the underwire. And I don't love that we aren't taking a serious look at what that garment is doing, the underwire bra is doing to our breast health. There's too many unanswered questions about that garment. But for me personally, I'm not going to put a piece of metal across my lymphatic drainage. I don't want that for me. And, this is an excellent choice for anyone who's had any kind of breast surgery. So you can put up to a size 7 prosthesis right in. There's a little pocket for it. There's nothing to irritate scars. There's nothing to limit healing. And, we call them the magical moldable bras, Dr. Sherry, because we've also used this performance manufacturing to take 120 conventional sizes down to 7. So each bra fits an amazing range of body sizes and shapes. And as your body changes, like if you're healing from a surgery and you have swelling, swelling can persist over a year. This is going to expand and contract with you. So I would say it's time to leave the underwire behind. It was a terrific idea in 1931. But, and tell me another product that you use reliably on a day-to-day basis that hasn't evolved. And we know a lot more now. 1 in 8 women will be affected by breast cancer. I think we need to start looking at the holistic impact on these day-to-day garments on our health. And I would say, based on all the research I've done, we are not looking closely enough.
I love that you bring the message and it's crystal clear. It's above all else, do no harm. And then you bring it
Yes.
back to how performance is key and that we shouldn't be relying on 1931. Like if you relied on that 1931, where would we be with just a vehicle? Like we would be nowhere, right? So this is
No
so
seatbelts.
fundamental. Yeah. And so we're bringing everybody back to the reality that we need to actually look at this as a performance garment that is helping impact our posture and our performance, but most importantly, the function of how our body works and if the lymphatic system is being impacted. And I think you're spot on with thinking about, Bree, what would it look like if we could actually have studies, especially since breast cancer, 1 in 8 women are going to have to deal with this very unfortunate diagnosis. And we want to wish all of those that are healing and that have experienced this the very best, because we know that it's a life changer. A lot of women will also suck up pain because they have so many else things going on. Let's talk about the bra itself and the impact that it does have on our posture and some of the things that maybe women should be looking for when they start to think about, is my bra actually working for me or is my bra working against me?
Yes. Yeah. So, Dr. Sherry, there are a lot of terrific comfort bras in the market. The challenge that I hear from women day to day is that they also want to look great in their clothes. They also want to have a very flattering silhouette. And I think that's one of the things that Evelyn and Bobbie does really fantastically, is that we don't ask you to take any trade-offs. Every human being feels better when they look better. There's a lot of research that when we are walking into the room with confidence, we are more effective speakers, we're more effective in business, we're more, those things are connected. And so there's a ton of great wire-free bra products out there. Our bras in particular create a shelf. And that's really what I think you want to look for, is a long line bra that has full support. I think 4-way stretch is something that you should absolutely be looking for, because you want something that's going to expand and contract while you breathe, while you move, while you live your life. And, especially for women, it's very rare that your weight doesn't change at least a little bit up and down over the course of a month. It is just a reality of how we work as human creatures, especially with, females being more affected by hormones. So that's just, I think part of being a woman is that the only thing that never changes is that your body's always changing. And so you need a garment that is going to be flexible. You want to avoid hard parts from my perspective. If you have metal or plastic boning in your bra, our bodies are flexible. Your garment should be flexible too. And biomimicry was really at the root of what I wanted to do. I was like, okay, if we could have layers of fascia that supported our bust, what would that look like? And that's very much what is on the inside of our bras. So, when you get them, They feel tight. They're supposed to be snug. And then they use the kind of heat and pressure from your body to actually adapt to your unique measurements. So you really have like a custom fit on day 3. And that fit is so important. I mean, if you've ever worn a shoe that doesn't fit quite right, it affects your gait, it affects your perception and awareness of it. And so I would say fit is super important. Get rid of the hard parts and make sure that you do not have pressure on your shoulders. Do not wear a racer back bra. A lot of women are out there wearing sports bras that are racer back, which means it's got a strap very close to your neck, right over your trapezius muscle. You need that strap over your shoulder clavicle joint so that it is anchoring correctly on your skeleton and not on your muscles. So those are the top 3 that I would call out.
That is such a critical component because we love to look good in yoga. Right?
Yes.
And I go to yoga classes and I see these really super cute bras, but then I look at how petite this woman is, and she probably can handle that. Now, I've grown up my entire life with a larger breast size, and I always thought, oh, it would be so cute if I could wear that, but then I also suffer the price. So I want the women out there to recognize right now that cute is overrated when it comes to your performance and your support, and that you can start to really identify how you can look beautiful in a bra in any performance structure. For the men listening, you can understand that, something that doesn't fit right now, like your shoe, if you squeezed into a shoe that's just a little bit too small, you're going to get a hot spot. Imagine that every day. Imagine that many of the women, I'm sure, Bree, are buying bras, maybe 1 or 2 at a time, and it doesn't work, but they're going to wear it anyway because just becomes frustrating. They've come to a place where you think this is as good as it's going to get, so you stop trying. And there's a lot of garbage out there in misinformation, which is why Adjusted Reality is such an important podcast. And I want to thank all our listeners for the many awards that you have brought to us by listening. But the big part is we want people to recognize that performance does not have to be pushed to the side when it comes to something that is functionally important all day long, even if it's your ergonomics and you're sitting in a crappy chair. It really comes down to recognizing it's not working for me and then recognizing there's a better option out there. So for the things that you've seen, Bree, because you've been through the hospitals, you've talked to the surgeons, and you've talked to the people on the ground that have had these, like, especially when you hit 70 years old, because now you're like, your collagen is changing, your structure of your bone systems are changing. Unfortunately, our muscles start to also change. So we have to work on everything. Don't give up. Tell them the message that you would want to hear when you're 70, and that there is support, there's help. Talk to us from an aging perspective for a woman.
Yeah, it's really interesting, Dr. Sherry, because we have a Slack channel. So it's like a messenger dedicated to the customer voice. I have never written a love letter to a company. We get love letters from customers every day. And, it's just exactly what you alluded to. Our biggest fans are often women in their 60s, 70s, or 80s who have experienced the discomfort for so long, they think it is just part of life. And then they experience Evelyn and Bobbie, and they're like, I didn't even realize how much discomfort I was enduring until I was free from the discomfort. And now I feel myself standing up taller. I feel my shoulders falling down away from my ears. And and honestly, I have to tell you, I get letters from men that say, I have listened to my wife suffer from bra discomfort her whole life. I bought her one of these bras and she cried when she put it on. So it's like, this doesn't have to be something that we just accept. I really believe that there are more solutions than problems. And having lived with bra discomfort, like some of our customers in their 70s for decades, enough is enough. The other thing is these bras you step into, you pull them up over your hips. They're very easy to get in and out of. And a lot of people who start to experience mobility or balance issues, like really love that you can just step into the bras and pull them up. And so there's so many aspects that you can improve when you truly put the customer in the center of your design process. And it was one of the things coming into this. It's so funny because people will say, Dr. Sherry, how long have you been in fashion? And I'm like, I'm not in fashion.
I'm in function.
I'm in function. Exactly. And I don't think about this as a fashion garment. And so I was very surprised to learn that most bra companies have one or two fit models per style when they bring a new style to market. That is bananas because a size small maybe has 2.5 pounds of breast tissue versus a 3XL that might have 25. Those are different load engineering problems to solve. We are solving size by size with real women. So I have 270 active fit models at any given time. We are doing multiple functional wear tests that are out in the world. Our bras are antimicrobial, non-toxic antimicrobial. They're moisture wicking. We're really putting the human at the center of our design and not looking at it as a fashion problem. But when you design this garment properly, it looks as good as it feels. And I don't think that women should have to have trade-offs. It's a non-negotiable garment. Looking good and feeling good are non-negotiables for me. And my daughters, 15 and 4 years old, will not grow up with the same message that you and I grew up with, which is, if you think about this kind of from an anthropological lens, and maybe some of your male listeners don't know this, but we put young girls in training bras at about 11 or 12. They're called training bras. What are we training them? Get ready for discomfort. You have a life sentence of discomfort because you're a woman. We're not doing that anymore. Comfort is the baseline. Performance is the baseline now. And I think it should be for every garment we put on our bodies. I am done with 4-inch heels as well.
Good job. 4-inch heels, way overrated. I love fashion because I do see the diversity and the ability to help women feel their best and look their best. And that's an important piece, but you should not have to. And this is why I think a lot of fashion has to go. You should not have to suffer. And men, when you come home, if you're ripping something off, think about that. Should you be wearing
Think about
it?
that.
But women do it every day. They come home, the first thing they want to do is take their shoes off and rip off their bra. And that's unfortunate because at the end of the day, we know two things. When you're done work, you should want to be energized and ready to do something fun. If you're doing a 10-hour day and you come home and the only thing you can think of is, I need someone to rub my shoulders, well, something's not right. And we need to start from the beginning and get back into alignment and balance. I'm kind of curious, and this is a little bit off topic, but I have to ask it because you've been in this arena now for several years on form and function. When you see the beautiful ball gowns or the gowns or the outfits that really, they don't have the strap now. What is your thought process on that for the women like me out there that's like, I can't wear no straps. It's just not going to work out. How does it work in your world?
You mean strapless in general? I think the
Yes.
strapless bra, creating an ergonomic strapless bra is kind of the holy grail. And it's interesting. I think you should keep an eye on us. I think that if anyone can do it, it is my company. But that's a big, big challenge. And I think when I look at those ball gowns, I think about them, I put them in the costume category.
Okay.
There is a time for a costume, right? If you're going to the Met Gala or it's Halloween, or you can come up with plenty of other occasions where you're putting on a costume and you're going to endure a less desirable physical experience because you're wearing a costume. That's great. If you're a nurse working a 12-hour shift in the emergency room, and you are wearing scrubs and you are moving and you are lifting and you have no time to be distracted by the discomfort of a garment, you're going to wish that you had Evelyn and Bobbie on. And we actually hear from nurses and doctors and other medical professionals. Actually, there's a mining company, or there's a company in Australia that serves mining professionals, female mining professionals. Evelyn and Bobbie is the bra that they promote.
Brilliant.
Because for these women that are working long, so I think if you really need performance in your day, you're going to want a bra that does the job, I'm just going to put a pin in the strapless bra because I do think it's possible. And I think it's possible with the EV Core, which is
Okay,
our patented
everybody's heard it
underwear
there.
replacement.
It is. I like how you framed it though, because it is a costume, and we do have to be aware that no one's going to be walking around in a ball gown every day. And sometimes there is that moment where, the heels are so pretty, I have to wear them. So the women out there, you get what I'm saying. But
Yeah.
I think on a reality level where the nurses are, the doctors are, the miners are, they're really fit for what their purpose is going to be, which is taking care of a patient or doing their job appropriately and effectively so that their upper body strength is not being
Yes.
compromised. Because remember, you talked about the lymphatic drainage. There is, in fact, a diaphragm there, and breathing gets challenged as soon as we start wrapping things around them. What I do like is something that you said that I think is very, very important. After listening to many, not just aging adults, but even athletes that have had shoulder problems, very good. Like I was doing triathlons, and I saw so many women say, I hate that I have to do my bra from the back because it internally rotates my shoulder in, and it's very difficult, painfully wise, when you're very sore, if you've been swimming long hours or you're aging adult where the function and the range of motion is not at its original ability. And you stepping into a bra is a whole new reality. It literally is. I'm stepping into a moment where I'm going to be functioning better. And I do like that concept a lot.
Yes, thank you for that. It's been an interesting journey for me because even though it seems easy and obvious once you do it, the whole concept of stepping into a bra is new to people. And I think part of it is because we aren't that far away from a long legacy of sameness. Bras have been the same for decades. The average bra is a cut and sew, so it's made with a sewing machine. It's not necessarily, it doesn't have the powerful stretch and recovery that my garments do. And so people think about stretching that bra out as undermining its ability to fit. And that's just not the case when you use advanced performance athletic apparel manufacturing techniques. My fabrics took 18 months to develop because I wanted them to be thin so that they feel like a second skin, not dry and bulky like conventional sports bra material, but I wanted them to have all the power and more of a sports bra material. So it took us about 18 months to develop just the fabric. When you look at these knitting machines, the yarn that goes into it, Dr. Sherry, they look like spider webs. They're 1/100th of a human hair. So, there's so much technology that goes into the performance of these garments, and you can really feel the difference when you wear them. But you really, really, really feel the difference after you've been wearing them for about 3 weeks because you start to realize that you're standing a little taller.
This is so important, and I'm gonna ask you this one thing that I think many women will relate to. But you have a motto. It's stand tall and lead from the heart. What does that actually mean to you personally, and then as a leader that's running a company that is doing absolutely phenomenal?
Yeah, thank you so much. We just launched in Bloomingdale's. We are growing so quickly at Nordstrom. And of course, you can find these products on our website. But stand tall and lead from the heart actually ties back to that moment in Dr. McAllister's office where I realized that I was doing all of this work to have lifted posture and appropriate curvature in my spine, to lead as I walked into the room with the right presence. And then I thought about this legacy of bras that are only focused on how you look, not on how you feel, how you perform. And I thought about millions of women going from their shoulders being hunched and having pain to standing tall with their heart chakra shining. And that is the moment I want for every woman. I want her to stand tall, literally and figuratively, and to have her chest and her breathing open, have her shoulders down, her spine lifted. So, stand tall and lead from the heart is a way of meeting the world. And it's physical, it's literal, and it's figurative.
It's beautiful, and I love that it was inspired by being in a chiropractor's office, because that
Yeah.
makes all the difference in the world. When you're listening to Adjusted Reality, it's about balance, it's about structure and function, but it takes it to a new level when you say lead with your heart, because I think the biggest thing we can do in our world right now is through faith, hope, and love. And you love what you do. You're giving faith that people can actually wear a product that makes them feel better, and then giving hope that the pain that they've been suffering for many, many years is finally going to be relieved, and that they'll be able to do their daily chores without having to have endless problems in their shoulders, their neck, tension, headaches, all the things that they may not recognize have actually adversely been impacting them for many years because their bra was improper, and which is why we bring this whole conversation up, Bree.
Yes. Yeah. It's a small thing, but it's a big thing. And I really think that I think for me, what I learned is that, man, when I think about the hope piece, Dr. Sherry, I wasn't a bra designer. I was somebody who thought that women deserved better, a little more comfort, a little bit more posture. And I set out to solve this problem. And with innovation and hard work, we were able to do it. And I think there's a lot of problems in the world that are very solvable.
Yes, well said. And that is why we so appreciate you coming on today, Bree. It's been an absolute pleasure. I think you're changing the world one bra size at a time. And I love that you bring in so many different variations on the theme, because one size does not ever fit all, does it?
No, it doesn't. Nope.
Well,
Custom garments, that's the future.
it really is. Well, thank you so much for really taking the time to explore why this is so important. For the men out there, you now know that there's a reason why we complain, and it is so important that we actually do get a reality on what it feels like and what it means to be strong, centered, balanced, and focused on not our function. We shouldn't be thinking about our bra during the day. Most men would not. So why are women? And I think that's one of the keys to success. So thank you, Bree, for really being with us today and sharing your wisdom.
Thank you, Dr. Sherry.
Thank you for tuning in to Adjusted Reality as we spoke to Bree McKeen about reinventing the bra for modern comfort and performance. Now, as you know, this podcast was brought to you by the Foundation for Chiropractic Progress. We know life moves pretty fast, and we want to make sure you never miss an episode. So visit f4cp.org/adjusted reality to subscribe to our newsletter. And of course, while you're there, make sure to pick up a copy of the Adjusted Reality new Forbes book to learn more on how to align your life with balance, intention, and contentment. Interested in hearing from a specific guest? Well, we would welcome to hear more from you. Send us your guest recommendations. Now, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. And share this podcast with friends and family. That is, in fact, how we grow, and I could not be more thankful for you listening. Now, if you're feeling so inspired to learn more about chiropractic or to find a doctor of chiropractic near you, visit f4cp.org/find a doctor. We appreciate your support and look forward to checking in again with you soon.